Yeah, I think it's had an impact in a lot of ways. I think from a positive perspective, we've learned to see how agile we really are as an organization and as employees. I think it's made it a lot easier for folks to probably dedicate more time in their day now because they're not commuting every day. They're not spending the extra $10 a day on lattes, going to Starbucks, so things like that. I think, employees are starting to see the positive. I think one of the things that we've, been keen on is the communication and keeping that engagement with the employees is huge, and learning different technologies that you can leverage to actually really embody and drive that collaboration and communication. So we're utilizing, Skype Business, Microsoft Team, other, SharePoint. And so those are some of the sites that we're, and different systems and programs we're getting really, really familiar with. And I think probably one of the biggest challenges would be from a training perspective. I think it's still an area where, as you continue to adjust to this remote, it is ensuring that, when you have new hires that are starting, ensure that they still have the proper training, because you can't just sit at someone's desk and shadow them all day. And so you really have to get creative in how you are going to continue to provide the essential training and resources that a new hire needs to be set up for success. From an operational perspective, I think, the key thing is making sure that we get people onboarded successfully. So that is, tweaking the communications that we were previously sending out to new hires. Because like I said, previously, folks were going into the office and conducting, live orientation sessions. Now everything is, remote right now. And so we've had to make sure that we provide, new hires with technology. So instead of sending those technologies to the local offices for them to pick up, we're now sending those technologies to their home. And so it's really key to really understand what the forecasts are, who's going to be starting, when they're going to be starting, working with our global IT team to make sure that we're getting those laptops provisioned and getting to their home on time. And so we've had to change a lot of our SLAs as well to make sure that we're getting that technology and training and resources to those new hires prior to the actual start date. I would, probably say, things are definitely, I think, trending more towards, adapting to the remote environment. I think certain companies were already kind of adjusting to working remotely, whereas other companies were more traditional, where you have to come into the office every day, every meeting you have to see that person face to face. So I think definitely that's going to be huge from an HR perspective, is really understanding that, you may have to put in place a work at home policy, not just to address the pandemic, but from a long-term perspective. Even if everything goes back to normal and everyone can be, within 2 feet of each other, you want to look at, hey, what other policies that can we put in place? Do we need to look at putting a remote, a telecommuting policy in place? That is really going to really meet the needs of our employees, because I think a lot of people realize that we can still be productive at home. And a lot of times we can be more productive using different technologies, whether it's the onboarding experience, HRIS systems, talent acquisition systems, and then also looking at softwares that can provide you with a large suite of products. Now, I think it's going to be key. So for example, before, if you were an HR professional, you may use one vendor for your BI, and then you use another vendor to do your HRIS system. Now I think it's an opportunity for, organizations or software and systems that have robust services or suite options to really share that with companies, because we're looking for more things to say, okay, what can we do to make us more productive, to keep our employees engaged, to make sure they have the proper training, to make sure they have the technology, to still make sure that we're, getting people set up in a system operationally. So I think that's really going to be huge, for a lot of software companies. And I think the other key area is going to be, looking at talent development and succession planning. Because I think right now everyone is kind of comfortable at where they are and working for the company that they're working for. But as things continue to open back up, people are going to look back at these moments to say, how did my organization react during this time? How did they support me? How did they support new hires? How did it support my continuous growth and development? And if you are a company that did it really well, then you could probably feel comfortable to say, you know what, I have people with me that are going to be committed to the organization. Whereas if you were a company that you struggled, then that's going to be an area where you're going to have to either, reset and make up for those lost times, or you may end up dealing with some turnover, and so I think that's one of the things that HR folks are going to have to make sure that, we're being mindful of turnover and ensure that we're continuing to attract and retain top talent.